Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from the Frontier. Thank you for stopping by. I'm always grateful. Let me start with something I wrote on the 29th of February, which was over the weekend. It was talking about Africa markets, meta trends, and why the Barclays exit is a vote of no confidence in President Zuma. As many reasons have been given, including the fact that the sale of Barclays Africa will add as much as 0.8 percentage points to Barclays' core capital ratio, and that the African unit's return on equity of 9.3% last year was below the bank's target rate of 11%, and that Africa translates into Barclays carrying 100% of the reputational risk without 100% of the control. For example, in South Africa, the UK bank has a minority of board seats. However, the real reason, in my view, is the Zuma-Zupta volatility. The Barclays Africa exit is a vote of no confidence in South Africa's Jacob Zuma, and by extension in South Africa's gateway position. 2 days before South Africa's Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan presented his budget last Wednesday, Zuma described Van Rooyen as the most qualified finance minister his administration has had. Unless the president is stopped, Barclays PLC's move might well be in the first in what becomes an avalanche of exits. Kenyanwallstreet, who I follow on Twitter, tweeted this: "Here is the rationale of Barclays Africa Group's exit." And I'll also put up a photograph of President Zuma and David Van Rooyen, the most qualified finance minister his administration has had. Macro thoughts: it's getting harder for currency traders to make money, market veteran says. A case in point is the yen. It dropped the most in more than a year on January the 29th. After the BOJ governor, Kuroda, unexpectedly adopted negative rates, it has surged more than 6% since, set for its steepest monthly advance since 2008. Likewise, the euro has seen a weekly gain of 3% or more on 3 occasions since the start of 2015 and dropped as much 5 times. There were no comparable moves in the prior 3 years. We're now starting to play a lot at the extremes of the ranges, and what I mean by that is that the market not only mean reverts, but goes back through to the other side of the price very quickly. So really you've got these whipsaws between ranges. A lot of the electronification of the market, which by and large is a good thing, has led to kill switches on a lot of that algorithmic provided liquidity. Average daily turnover in the UK has dropped 21% in October from a year earlier. North American volumes down 26%, according to central banks in the 2 regions. At the same time, a decline in currency trading revenues and rising cost of regulatory change has forced banks to turn to increased automation and cut staff. There were 2,300 people working in currency market front office jobs at the world's biggest banks in 2014, a 23% drop from 4 years earlier, according to Coalition Development Limited, an analytics firm. Have a look at this: the yen on a tear and euro whipsaw. My conclusions are, I, like Lefebvre, have watched the markets for eternity, and I've never seen anything like this. And that's saying something, because I can remember 1994, 1998, and those were big and seismic events. Home Thoughts' Omar Sharif has been remembered by the Oscars in this year's In Memoriam section of the Academy Awards. Let me put up a photograph of Omar Sharif and Julie Christie and Dr. Zhivago, and then a few quotes. "I want to live every moment totally and intensely. Even when I'm giving an interview or talking to people, that's all what I'm thinking about. I didn't want to be a slave to any passion anymore. I gave up card playing altogether. even bridge and gambling more or less. It took me a few years to get out of it. When one sees what happens, this is very powerful, in the world between the religions, the different religions killing each other and murdering each other, it's disgusting. And as far as I'm concerned, it's ridiculous. So I thought I might be useful. I believe in God and I believe in religion, but believe religions should belong to you. The extraordinary thing is that the Jews believe that only the Jews can go to paradise. The Christians believe that only a Christian can go to paradise. The Muslims believe that only the Muslims can go to paradise. Now, why should God, in His great justice, make somebody born that cannot go to paradise? It is absurd. Please forgive me. I don't mean to say it's absurd. People made it absurd. Europe's fumbled refugee crisis in charts, I think it's going 10x in 2016. Some 110,000 people have crossed the sea to Greece, Italy and Spain in the first 2 months of this year, after 1 million made the journey in 2015. The EU's 28 governments are as far apart as ever from a common stance on how to cope with the crisis. Have a look at this refugee chart. And as I said, I think it's going 10x, and I don't think the Europeans got anything to stop it. Why Trump and Sanders were inevitable. The only wonder, perhaps, is that it took Trump and Sanders this long to get here. True, both men may fail in their respective insurgencies against the establishment. After his weekend thumping in South Carolina and facing longer odds on Super Tuesday, Sanders could fade quickly as a candidate. Trump, meanwhile, still faces a sharp backlash from Republicans, some of whom are already saying publicly they can't support him as their party's nominee. But make no mistake, the message that Sanders and Trump are bringing to the stump isn't going away soon. Not until the two parties acknowledge the deep flaws in the economic paradigm that got us to this place of inequality, but which neither the Democratic nor the Republican leadership have questioned deeply. Trump and Sanders are thus in many ways the yin and the yang of America's present discontent. Both address in different ways the seething sense of unfairness, of inequality in Americans. Their supporters tend to be angry, somewhat less educated, more industrial age than information age skilled Americans, and in other cases insecure young people just out of college, for whom unemployment until the age of 30 still averages 12%, who believe their political parties no longer represent them. Trump emphasizes shutting down job-stealing immigrants and getting better deals from the world. Sanders imprisoning wealth-gobbling, spoiled Wall Streeters and getting fairer deals from the world. Both candidates plainly appeal to people who feel that no one is really standing up for them, and what used to be known as their middle class. People who want more of the pie that they've been getting for a long time, and people who realize that their political parties are at best half-hearted about doing anything about that. And I think that's a very fair point making there. However, I think Hillary Clinton must be licking her chops with the thought of facing Donald Trump. Pakistan executes Mumtaz Qadri for the 2011 killing of Punjab Governor Salman Taseer. Have a look at this man's photograph. He's clearly unrepentant at the gallows. Presidential au Gabon, Ali Bongo is seeking a second mandate. Reuters World, more than $1 billion was transferred into Malaysia Prime Minister's accounts. This is the Wall Street Journal. Quite a scandal. Looking at the currency markets, the Japanese yen is the biggest winner in February with a gain of more than 7%. Euro is at 108.67, dollar index 98.29, Japanese yen 113.16, Swissy 0.0, back above parity 1,001. The pound is stuck at 139.96, might test 140. Aussie 0.7153, New Rupee 68 below 68, 67.915. South Korean won 1231.03. The Rial 401.69. Egyptian pound 782.82. And the Rand got a bit of a bounce after comments from President Zuma that there was no argument between him and his finance minister. Japan's currency has appreciated 7.2% versus the dollar in February, heading for its best month since October 2008. Put up a one-year chart of the dollar yen. I'm still looking for 105. Mad world. Japan gets paid to borrow. For 10 years, as auction yield negative for first time, they borrowed 10-year money at an average yield of minus 0.024% on Tuesday, 3.2 times, bids were for 3.2 times the amount of securities offered. Euro dollar 108.67 last, which slipped below 110. Draghi has simply to deliver. Germany 9-year yields have turned negative, hit a fresh lifetime low at minus 0.12%. 2-year yields hit a fresh lifetime low of minus 0.56%. Pretty dramatic developments. Commodity markets, Glencore's profits slumped 69% as price for metals and oil slipped. Share prices almost double from recent lows, but I think it's going to be difficult to keep pushing on from here. Gold, last time I looked, we're around the 1240 area. I think it's still pointed higher. Crude oil around the 34.75 level when I checked last. The key area it's got to break through. This is US WTI is 35.50 to 36.50. Interesting piece in the Wall Street Journal about Africa's wealthiest woman, the eldest child of Angola's long-time ruler, is frank about the trouble facing her country's oil-dependent economy. The economic situation today is difficult, she said. With the low oil prices, we are definitely feeling the pinch. The 42-year-old is feeling the pinch as well. The value of her two-continent empire has fallen along with global markets. Forbes magazine puts her net worth at $3.1 billion, down from $3.4 billion last year and $3.7 billion in 2014. She remains a controversial focus of deal-making in Angola and Portugal, where she has invested hundreds of millions of dollars in both countries. Her portfolio of dominant banks, retailers, telecoms companies makes her an object of media fascination and persistent speculation that her capital comes from her father's access to state oil revenues. Take a look, that article is transcribed in full on Rich Wrap-Ups. She said she doesn't get money from her father and hardly sees him. He's very busy, and I'm very busy, she says. Zimbabwe stranded in stasis. This is the International Crisis Group. Zimbabwe is floundering, little sign of meaningful reform and sustainable broad-based recovery. Political uncertainty and economic insecurity have worsened. The Zimbabwe African National Union Patriotic Front ZANU-PF government has consolidated power as the opposition stumbles but is consumed by struggles over who will succeed President Mugabe. Upbeat economic projections by international institutions are predicated on government rhetoric about new policy commitments and belief in the country's potential, but there are growing doubts that ZANU-PF can walk the talk of reform. Mugabe, though 92 and visibly waning, shows no signs of stepping down. The South African all shares down 2.32% this year. Dollar Rand 15.68.33, but any curveball from Zuma is going to send it in a tailspin again. Egypt EGX 30 down 12.26% this year. Nigerian all share down 14.22% this year. Ghana Stock Exchange Composite Index down 1.14% so far this year. In DNA, clues to the cheetah's speed and hurdles. Their spotted coats and black teardrop facial markings, cheetahs are a favorite of tourists from on photographic safaris. The animals race across the African savanna at speeds reaching 70 miles per hour because of their unique physiology, elongated legs, aerodynamic skull, enlarged adrenaline glands and heart muscles, and claws that grip the earth like football cleats. Considered critically endangered, cheetahs number only about 10,000 today, with most living in southern and eastern Africa. What the genomic analysis reveals is not encouraging. The cheetah has less than 5% of the genomic diversity of other wild cats, a level much lower than even inbred domestic dogs and cats, and the lowest among the 30 mammals whose genomes have been sequenced. Genetic diversity in an animal is determined by variation in enzyme genes inherited by an animal's two parents and is critical to its healthy reproduction and immunity to disease. Scientists began to suspect that the cheetah was genetically monotonous several decades ago. Surgical skin grafts done experimentally among unrelated cheetahs were tolerated without the normal rate of tissue rejection, as if all the animals were identical twins. Cheetahs in captivity were difficult to breed and had unusually high mortality rates among the cubs, and the animals show high vulnerability to outbreaks of disease. I took this photograph in Borana. I tweeted, "Nature is red in tooth and claw, cheetah and eland." The Kenya 6 7/8 10-year Eurobond is now yielding 8.18%, and it's up 6.1% year to date. On the 4th of January and before that, I said Kenyan 10-year dollar bonds above 10% were as much a no-brainer as one-year treasury bills at 23%. Kenya's inflation slowed to 6.84% in the year to February, from 7.78% in the previous month, the Statistics Office said on Monday. I've been saying for quite a while now that the inflation was not a problem. We're living in a deflationary world. The shilling 101.67, that's 6-month highs. Nairobi all share down 2.52% year to date, and the NSE 20 is down 4.42% year to date. We're in the middle of results season. We've seen quite a few of them. Some have been good, some not so good. Tomorrow we have KCB, and I'm expecting a better result than expected there. I'm looking forward to attending that earnings release. Once again, thank you for stopping by.